Hello there, how's your day? I'm Mika Kita des. Alright, today we're going to talk just a little bit about Hololive, Holostar, parent company with Cover Corp at this point. It's actually kind of interesting that when they actually posted this on the 13th of May along the line, not a lot of people go to the point of taking a look at financial result of the VTuber agency in a way, because the thing is, right, often more than not, considering that this is like the financial report in a way, normally it, although well, they may try to tell you more about the situation behind the scene in the company of Hololive, Holostar along the line. It's actually kind of interesting that that is something that people start taking note about what is the cost or the road that Cover Corp is trying to prove at this point of time. What are they trying to move along the line? And it actually got quite a lot of people to think about how, like when compared to the company Niji Sanji or any talent at this point of time, is it really like what Cover Corp or the parent company of Hololive Holostar is doing the right thing, or are they kind of like making like telling a bigger story or looking further into the future? So it's kind of interesting that when you come to the actual post itself, so there is someone by the name Dark who is well known for posting detective along the line, and it's actually kind of interesting that the way he phrased it kind of a little bit of clickbaiting on based on the way the sentence is produced, but in the short form, in a nutshell, it's basically that unlike Niji Sanji, who love to throw out a lot of new wave and see whatever stick, Cover Corp or Hololive Holostar is going with the idea that they want to ensure that their current generation or the current talents they have are growing at the right stage. They are giving more care to the current talents, making sure they can stay as long as they possible be, or maybe at the same time making sure they all grow at the same rate, and at the same time kind of like let them get used to a lot of audience along the line. As compared to like Niji Sanji, they just throw every single thing out of nowhere. But Hololive Holostar have been kind of like doing with the something along the line of like slow grow but long-term investment. Whereas Niji Sanji is more like fast, just like short-term profit, everything go. If it stay, it stay. If it doesn't stay, kick them out. And it's always kind of interesting to see that Niji Sanji has always been having a lot of talents, but none of them stay long. So most of them either terminated or graduated or just gone out of nowhere. Whereas Hololive, so far there is quite a few graduation, but at the same time, while there is one or two termination that a lot of people tend to talk about when you think about it, but it's not like those will affect people like the company in the long run. And more so is that most of the current generation, like Akiros or Choco Sensei or a few other members, they kind of like talk about how like even the original Hololive member Tokino Sora, like she also mentioned along the line of that she considered like stopping as a VTuber, and yet she is able to get to what she is right now because she was advised by the company to stay on, and the company helped whatever they can to make her grow in. And it's really kind of interesting that a lot of the members is now over 1 million subscribers, some 2, some 3 along the line. And unlike in Niji Sanji, where either you go big and you stay, or you don't go big and you out, it's really kind of like showing that how much the company is like of between Niji Sanji and Hololive, who is actually caring for their talents. And obviously there are some people who actually do talk a lot about this, like Parrot 4chan saying like Hololive not wanting to create more gen because they choose to increase recognition per VTuber IP, we unlike profit by the number of VTuber is the best move. Or some people saying like they focus on their current member and prioritizing them before they debut new talents. And again, a lot of people need to understand, as in the report, they have stated they are trying to make sure their current gen able to get used to to everyone and everyone getting used to the new generation instead of like pumping wave after wave. I mean, I'm sure there will be like a minority people who prefer to have new wave, new talents, new whatsoever, but on the other hand, it is very important to help spread the current new talents at the same time. If you keep, I think Niji Sanji is really showing a very good lesson to all the VTuber agency along the line. Is that the more you pump out, the more a lot of people will get tired of the new so-called older wave, and a lot of people just end up forgetting about the older wave along the line, and it will kill the company in a way, because especially when the older generation decided to, like, let's say, graduate along the line, and most of the people stay because of the older generation, some maybe the newer generation, but it's not like everyone follow every single thing. And what moreover is that sometimes some people actually follow the newer generation not because of the older generation. So when the new generation, if they're not gaining any traction and they leave, people will not follow Niji Sanji as a whole. They just follow because of that new current wave. It's not like every wave they follow. So it is killing in the long term, because a lot of people will say, oh, you join Niji Sanji, good for you. But if you're not gaining traction and you leave, some people who actually some of the fans leave because of the Oshi, the only Oshi that linked them to Niji Sanji is basically gone. It's like people just leave because there is no more Oshi or no people for them to support in Niji Sanji. So often more than not, this is not working the right way, and which is the reason why Hololive, Holostar, when they go with their way, it's like they make sure all generations stay as long as they can, as well as slowly pumping out new generation. And also at the same time, it's also easily seen that like some of the newer generation are slowly gaining like they don't just out of nowhere just throw everything in together. I mean, like, if you look at Niji Sanji, I'm sure they will be talking about they do have big collab here, there, everywhere. But when you talk about like smaller collab or individual collab, like, do they do that on a daily basis? No, I don't think so. I mean, like, if a lot of the time when I look at a lot of live stream done by Niji Sanji, it's like they are just doing on their own, which is the reason why I give the speculation that it seems like there is some sort of competition within Niji Sanji. Whereas in Hololive, Holostar, when they live stream, often more than not, well, there are time a lot of them do solo stream, most of them do collab, and a lot of people love that collaboration between Niji Sanji, not Niji Sanji, within the Holo mem or the Holo family along the line, because like sometimes when you see a lot of the Hololive girls doing collab together and the way they interact with each other or the way they have fun or funny moment, it's always the moment of the interaction between the members themselves, where you don't get to see that much within Niji Sanji. So often more than not, what a lot of people do prefer this kind of moment is that if you throw a new wave, obviously like there are some people who are unable to accept like new member, or unable to kind of like there is no transition for members to know each other well, and out of nowhere they just leave, or some of them just disappear along the line. And obviously there will be people talking about it. But when you're kind of like talking about the moment of Niji Sanji is trying new wave, Holostar kind of like stop pumping out new wave along the line, which I think is a very good strategy, because not only does it help to build up the current generation and the older generation together, but at the same time to let them see anything click within themselves, or do they have any form, which is the reason why there are actually a lot of people who notice that if it's to help care about the talent's longevity along the line, is the way to go. I personally do agree that not pumping out new wave fast enough is the way to go. It doesn't mean that every year we have to pump new wave, or every month have to pump every new wave. It's actually more so that if I know there will be people saying along the line that they are going to pump out new wave in future. Excuse me. I don't get to sneeze every single time during a recording. Anyway, the one thing I do know very well is that at the same time, when you have like the current generation and the newer generation slowly beating up their reputation at the same time and helping to ensure they stay longer, it also helps to put more eyes into the company, as well as that people who only follow that person, only one talent. I mean, like when you talk about Oshi, right? Sure, there will be a lot of time when people talk about, hey, there is only like they follow like three talents along the line, or four talents along the line, or many talents along the line. But again, we can't deny there are also times when there is also a few members who actually follow that one specific talent. It doesn't. So if that talent actually leave, they will leave. So in the long run, if you want them to stay, you make sure the talent stay. And at the same time, as they start growing bigger and bigger, it's also kind of interesting that when you look at the financial report, there are people who are saying that is it really hurting the company when we are looking at like the stock market? I mean, like sure, I know a lot of people is saying like in one day it seems to be like very nice. The amount seems to be slowly increasing along the line, or even stable. But when you look like in 1 year time, normally when in looking at financial, you don't look at the short term. Short term is unless you want the short term gain. But often more than not, I prefer to look at the long term gain. And often more than not, the long term gain is the one that is telling the bigger picture, and it's really something that I'm finding interesting that Cover Corp have been losing like I mean like the higher peak it once reached was over 3,000, but it's at the same time it is slowly decreasing, which tell a bigger picture is that it seems like there are some investors that are not happy with the way Cover Corp is doing. So I believe it will be like very likely due to the USA New Corps. But at the same time, there is also a possibility that Cover Corp is trying to make sure their talents is gaining the thing they deserve, let's say recognition, reputation, or the salary along the line. I mean, like a lot of people do notice that a lot of talents in Niji Sanji tend to have their salary cut here, that cut there along the line because of a lot of expenses along the line. Whereas Cover Corp tend to ensure that even if their talents do need the money for a project, the company is willing to pay for it for most of the majority of it, but at the same time the talents have to pay some of it because it means that they are the one doing it. And any long-term game tend to be meaning that it's the talent themselves are earning because it is their long-term project. And it's really telling a lot of picture, a lot of story in the picture along the line is that often more than not, investor doesn't like losing money. I mean, like when it comes to investing, sure, a lot of people will hate that. If you're losing money, you kind of like pull out, and obviously you can just definitely see that the trend over here is going down. So at this point, I kind of can understand that a lot of investors doesn't want their money, like throwing money at a company which is using the money for like event or whatever and not getting the money back. But when you do look at the revenue, like basically if you let the company do whatever they want, it does prove a bigger picture. Because why? Because when you actually look like if why a lot of people tend to not realize, like especially at Niji Sanji, is that when you do want money, you don't go around saying, oh, I'm not going to invest because it seems like they are just spending money along the line. The thing is, right, the reason why you have to lose some money is to ensure the long-term gain. It's not like the short. A lot of people tend to look at the short-term gain along the line and not realizing that the short-term gain is not what you want. If you really want long-term gain, you tend to have to do a little bit of investing yourself. You have to lose a little bit of money along the line. I mean, like sure, it's the same thing as doing a VTubing. Is that sure you can do VTubing like using a free model or a default model along the line and still be good. But at the same time, as you grow bigger and bigger, you have to invest in better mic equipment. You have to invest in a computer along the line, which I myself had to do along the line. Am I slowly getting subscriber? Does it mean that I'm growing like a long term very fast? If I prefer to have my subscriber to stay as loyal and watch almost of my random chat along the line, sure, I have to think of way to make it interesting. I have to think of way to have better quality, sound quality, or trying to make sure that the way I say is the same along the line. It's the same thing for Hololive, Holostar. Is that they are gaining profit, but it's just that they are not looking like in the short-term profit. They are looking at long-term profit, and they are slowly gaining the amount. And that, in a way, when you look at the net profit they are earning, obviously to some people they are saying like not a lot, sure, but when you think about the long-term game, let's say for example, if they're using a lot of money for merchandise, for event, for concert along the line, they use the money for that content, it will help to put out more eyes on the current company, or which is basically the Hololive Holostar, and more people will look out for them, and that in term will get more people to look to consider looking at VTuber. Even if people don't like it or people like it along the line, there will be people look knowing that there is a company called Cover Corp, which is the parent company of Holostar along the line. So at the end of the day, I do think that slowing the pumping of new talents along the line is the best way to go, because you see, if you pump up too many talent at one go, you won't be able to keep track of every single talent. You won't be able to understand which talent do you have on hand, which talent are you going to pump up along the line, which talent do you want to ensure that is growing at an alarming rate along the line. Because in Niji Sanji, they're just pumping out everyone, and some of the talents who can't grow much, they will just kind of like be forgotten. Whereas in Hololive Holostar, everyone is being treated equally along the line, and that's, I think, is the best way to go. So even if they but that doesn't mean that they are not pumping out new talents in near future. They will, just slowly, because at the same time, I think it's also proved to and tell us a lot of story. Another speculative thought is that it is also very likely they are doing a background check among the talents. Sure, I mean, like, unlike Niji Sanji, where a lot of people tend to say that there is a lot of controversy behind the talents along the line, or even if they have the talents, are they truly a nice person? I mean, like, you can have a person who is very good at VTubing, but the person have a very bad personality. So I mean, like, if I want to give you guys an example, look at me. I'm such a very bad person, and yet at the same time, every time when I apply to Holostar, I never get in. So it's really kind of like showing a lot of story that sometimes a little bit of personality does go a long way. But that doesn't mean that some of the talents in Hololive Holostar are scot-free. There are times when some people actually point out quite a few disturbing story. Is it true or not? At this point, I will not state out my take first, because sometimes there are some people who hate on the talents and they just want to smear do a smear campaign. So there is a possibility. But on the other hand, not pumping out too much of the talent at one go does go a long way, because often more than not, when you think about like the group, the talents, if you pump out too fast, everyone won't be able to keep track every talent. But if you kind of like pump it slowly, it kind of like let people know that, hey, in terms of like long-term stuff for the talents and the company is the best way to go, because everyone will know that, oh, maybe some people feel like they are not very sure about this new talent and they don't really want to follow the new talent yet. So let's say, for example, if the Oshi they have actually out of nowhere decided to collab with the new talents and slowly let them warm out, like let the audience warm out to the new talents, or maybe sometimes let talents shine out better, like having more event, more collaboration, or maybe like some sort of event that involve them along the line, then obviously it will slowly get more people to watch them, and maybe sometimes they may gain the traction they do deserve, because they will be like, oh hey, there's a new talent, people love it. I mean, like, if you look at Niji Sanji at this point, the new wave, I'm not gonna look at the numbers, but I will pull up Salvi-san video for if you guys are interested. I watch it. Not very good, because the thing is, right, it really does prove that when the company lost trust from many fans, it does prove in the numbers. So at this point, it's actually kind of interesting to see that a lot of people are questioning, like, why is Niji Sanji gaining like the stock is still on like pretty high in a way. I mean, like 2000 is a lot. I'm not sure it may be like compared to the highest, which is almost like 4,000 plus, which is the highest at their peak. But when you're looking at like in overall peak, I would definitely say that that is like almost over 6,000. But normally I look at 1 year, right? So when we are looking at 1 year, you can definitely see that it is definitely going down throughout the years. If we are going for the maximum, yep, it had gone down lowest once. I'm pretty sure it can overtake that. But at the same time, one of the things a lot of people need to understand that why a lot of people tend to say that it's eligible for Niji Sanji along the line is that any Taro or Niji Sanji parent company tend to be, how to say it, give in to the investor. So often more than not, investors tend to have the more say, the more take along the line. Whereas in Cover Corps or Hololive in a way is that in like if you look at the overall run is although there are times when they peak at around 3k over 3k, they are technically on the green, on like the maximum they are technically on the green, because the thing is that they don't give in to the investor. They do whatever they want. They ensure that the talents are growing, as well as they are ensuring not to give in to big investor, because the thing is, right, sure, the big investor can kind of like drop out along the line, but in the long run, if the company do care about not only the talents but about the fan as well, it does prove that a lot of fans will give back. Because the thing is, right, it's kind of like there is a cycle. There has to be a cycle when it comes to finance. So when there is a talent, the talent give the money to the company or work for the company. The company who give back to the fan will give it back to the talent. So it's a huge cycle. But for any talent, when you look at the maximum, they are not doing that. They are just like, oh, from the fan to the talent, talent to the company, and the company don't give back to the fan. So obviously a lot of fans will be like, hey, I have no money, I don't want to follow anymore, I'm just gonna quit along the line. So obviously when one of the flow does drop, everything does drop. So it's really kind of like show that in terms of the long run, obviously any talent is not really thinking about the fan itself, but as Cover Corp seems to be showing that. And obviously there are a lot of people who are agreeing with it, but again, there are also quite a few people who wish for newer generation, or interestingly, I won't point out, but I would say that there are some Niji sister loyal fan or Niji defense force who is out there trying to attack Cover Corp at this point, trying to indicate that they are pumping up new wave, or they are lying, they are saying new wave, but they're contradicting that along the line. Like, there are people who is doing that. But again, it's kind of interesting that people tend to not realize what it means in the long run. It's like, yes, they are pumping new wave, but slowly. At the same time, making sure that they are doing a proper check on their talents before they can pump out the debut, which do tell us that they are doing a proper check instead of having people with problematic background and just enter without any care in the world, which Niji Sanji seems to have the history of doing that. But again, who knows? It's just my speculative thought, just a random chat. But if you do have your own thought and your own idea or your own thing, just write in the comment below, we can discuss further. But till then, don't forget to press the like button if you do like this video, and subscribe for more random chat if you do want to listen to more random stuff. But I mean, like, sometimes it kind of depends. Sometimes I talk about VTuber, sometimes I talk about random stuff, but it's a random chat anyway. But the only thing that is not random is definitely, I hope you guys have a good day or night, or unless you want to have a random day. Bye!